world's largest outdoor cocktail party in Jacksonville. Georgia 43, Florida 20. And the rumors of Georgia's demise, guys, have been greatly exaggerated because even without Brock Bowers, the offense was humming. Carson Beck played a fantastic game, 19 of 28, 315 and 2. And the Georgia run game was just really, really good. Ladd McConkey stepped up really well to fill that void left by Brock Bowers, 6 receptions for 135 yards and a touchdown. And guys, they answered a lot of questions, right? Florida goes up 7-0. You're thinking, oh boy, Gators punch first. This could be a dogfight for Georgia. But then after that, Georgia scores 36 unanswered to go up 36-7 and leave no doubt of who the best team on the field is.
They did Georgia things.
Georgia, we've been waiting for them. They've shown flashes, right? We talked about the slow starts. We've talked about, they have their oopsie game against Auburn where they're giving up tons of rushing yards. But I highlighted it on the preview show. That Auburn game was such an outlier on the ground. Whatever Auburn found schematically or whatever Georgia was just distracted by that day, or chalk it up to a rivalry game, whatever you want, that game was such an outlier. This was the only other time, save for, I think, week 1 when the backups were playing, that Georgia's given up over 100 yards this year, and they gave up 109. So a Florida team that really wants to establish the run. So we highlighted it. I was expecting Georgia to come out and prove some people wrong this week. It was going to be difficult without Brock Bowers, but they have so much talent that it was hard to believe that no one would step up.
Yeah, and shout out Ladd McConkey for being the guy, right? He decided, you know what, this is going to be my moment, right?
They've kind of been waiting for him to do that too. He hadn't really had a big breakout game this season.
Yeah, and he's looked good in the past, and he's had some big performances in the playoff and doing what he needs to do there. But man, like it seemed like he would kind of dragging a little bit. This whole Georgia offense was dragging a little bit this year. You'd see him perform against bad teams after a sleepy first quarter, and then they turn it back up, and you're like, okay, well, I guess Georgia kind of did it. But I just kind of feel like something's missing. This is the first game I feel like, to me, when I was watching them play, I felt like Georgia kind of looked back. It kind of looked like Georgia again. They weren't maybe as sharp on defense in certain spots, towards the end of the game. And you could say it was backups. They didn't care. They're just trying to finish the game or whatever. But this is the first time on offense I thought, okay, Georgia's starting to roll a little bit. This is the first time I thought Carson Beck really impressed me with his ability to win the game with his arm. And specifically just not with Brock Bowers. That was the big point, was what happens when you take your all-world talented tight end. That was something that I highlighted in the preview, as I said, okay, well, what happens if you get down, 10-0, 14-0 to Florida, and you don't have your big play guy to catch you up? The run game ain't going to do it. Well, turns out you didn't need the run game to do it. They had a good game on the ground. They rushed for plenty of yards and several scores, but man, it was Ladd McConkey. It was the rest of that offense just getting things going. And you got to shout out Carson Beck. He had a great game, and I think restored a lot of confidence in that Georgia program that they can compete nationally.
Yeah. I mean, Georgia, it was a tough game for me because obviously Tennessee already lost to Florida. I'm not rooting for Florida, but it would help if Georgia could lose a game prior to Tennessee. So, maybe we could make a late Hail Mary run for the SEC title game. But anyways, it was a good game for Georgia. And I think my biggest takeaway from this game, obviously Georgia did look back. That's at least what the people are saying. And, they did look good. But I think the biggest takeaway has got to be Georgia kind of discerning themselves. And you mentioned it just a little bit, Garrett, from being a great team this year and being a good team this year, because you lose Brock Bowers. You have a guy in Oscar Delp who steps up 2 receptions, plays a pretty good game blocking wise. You also have receivers who were able to step up, fill his void receiving wise. Carson Beck finds a new favorite target in Ladd McConkey, hits a couple other guys. And so you just have guys in line. And when it's not Brock Bowers, it's another draft pick and another draft pick and another scrappy wide receiver who's able to fill that void. For example, let's take a team like Missouri, right? If Missouri loses Luther Burden, I'm sure Mookie Cooper, Theo Weiss, maybe they can do the job. Mm-hmm. But at Georgia, there's no question about it. That's what makes them a really great team, is that you've got 3 or 4 more guys who are former 5 stars. you've got DeJuan Edwards and Kendall Milton, a very underrated running back room to hand to. And so it's just a very deep team. It's hard to find a hole, even without, I guess a Heisman contender for, some part of the year at tight end, which is extremely hard to do. That shows how talented he was. But Dominic Lovett, the Missouri transfer, Oscar Delp, Lad McConkey, like we mentioned, all kind of stepped up. Carson Beck played really well as well. So they're definitely back. Definitely, as a Tennessee fan, not looking forward to them and Missouri back-to-back weeks. But, yeah, Georgia gets the job done. It was a surprising comeback from Georgia, just like running all over them, just 26 straight points, no problem.
Well, it's a fascinating close to the regular season for the Bulldogs. They've got a surprising heavyweight bout next week when they take on Missouri at home. Missouri's still with only one loss this year. Then they have Ole Miss, another team with only one loss. And then they go to Neyland to take on the Tennessee Volunteers before finishing at Georgia Tech in the good, clean, old-fashioned hate. So it's put up or shut up time for the Bulldogs. Everybody's been doubting you because of a weak schedule all year. Those doubts will be over if they can keep going through the rest of this unscathed.
Gracious, how about that?